Okay, we're here on our notes for similar polygons. And so similar polygons are just polygons with the same shape but different sizes. So if we have a little square with all the right angles, or we have a big square, they're both squares with all four sides the same. It's just these ones are different sizes. It's smaller, so the sides are different. So if two polygons are similar, corresponding angles are congruent. They're exactly the same. Corresponding sides are proportional. And our symbol we use for proportional is this symbol right here. So that is our symbol we use for proportional. That or these little dots like this. So here we know angle A is congruent. There's our congruent symbol. So we're looking at angle A is congruent to angle X because we've been told that these polygons are similar. And so we line up, it's congruent to angle X. Side BC is proportional to side YZ. They don't equal each other, but they're the sides that match up. They're proportional. Angle B is proportional to angle Y. AB is proportional to XY. And then angle C is congruent to angle Z. And side CA is proportional to side XC. So I'm just matching up proportional sides of congruent angles. And so this is another one to just say, hey, what do we know? Because these are similar, what does that let us know about our angles? And so we know that all the angles equal. So angle A is congruent to angle E. Angle B is congruent to angle F. And they've marked it for us with the 2 marks. Angle G is congruent to angle C. And angle D is congruent to angle H. So we know all the angles equal and all sides are proportional. So AB is proportional to EF. AD is proportional to EH. DC is proportional to HG. And GF is proportional to CV. We're just matching up sides that match each other. So now is where we get to bring the numbers in. So if we know they are similar, then we can set up a ratio and find the missing sides. And so before we do that, we're going to skip down here to our ratio practice, because that's what we most often use in similar triangles. And so ratio practice, the easiest way to solve this is cross multiply. So, or you might know it as the butterfly method. We're going to do r times 5 and 3 times 10 is going to be our first step. And so that gives us 5r equals 30. And then our last step is to divide to get r equals 6. In your calculator, you could check 6 divided by 3 equals 10 divided by 5. They equal each other. If we have this, it's the same thing, but because we have 2 terms here, we're going to put them in parentheses. And so we have 6 times 2 is 12, and the other side equals 4 times b minus 9. And so then our first step is to distribute. So we have 12 equals 4b minus 36. And then I'm going to do my add step to move that negative 36 away from the b. That gives me 48 equals 4b. And now I can do my divide step to get 12 equals b. And if I want to check, I can do 12 minus 9 equals 3. And yes, 6 over 3 is the same as 4 over 2. That checks. Okay, so now you do number 3 and 4. See if you can do those. Your final answers should come out to b equals 3 and n equals 10. So see if you can get those answers on your own. So then when we move on to these polygons, we're going to set up the same ratios of matching up side to side. And so 8 over 4 equals, and I'm just going to put an x here, x over 7. And so then I multiply 8 times 7 to get 56 equals 4x. Divide by 4 to get 14. Another way you could look at this, if you want to, is just look at, hey, what is that scale factor to get from here to here? So 4 times 2 equals 8. Therefore, 7 times 2 equals 14. So sometimes if it's an easy scale factor, you can just find that scale factor and multiply. Here it's not quite as easy as scale factor. So we're going from 9 to 6. And so if I have 9 over 6 equals 24 over the x I'm looking for. And so this is not as easy to just multiply. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the math. So 6 times 24 equals 144 equals 6x. And divide by 6 gives me 124. I did that wrong. Divide by 9. 144 divided by 9 equals 16. And I check. That's a logical number. 16 over 24 and 6 over 9. Those are logical numbers. So now we come back up to the top of the page, and this time it's the same thing, just our polygons are flipped different directions. And so I have to match up my short sides together. And so that's going to be 2 over 3 will equal my long sides together, which is x over 7. And so when you're setting up these ratios, make sure you always match up side to side, and then across needs to be unit to unit. So because 2 is on top here, x has to go on top. Because 3 is on the bottom, 7 has to go on the bottom. And then I go ahead and do my cross multiply and divide. So now 3x equals 14. So I divide by 3. That does not divide evenly. And so I can either leave it as a fraction, so x equals 14 over 3, or x equals 4.6666, which I will round to 4.67. All right, on our next one, we have to look at these angles to see that it's flipped around. And so if I look at the sides, this is between 1 mark and 3 marks. So I find my side over here between 1 mark and 3 marks and say, okay, therefore x matches up with 25. And then I'm going to pick my smaller number because I want to. And so between 1 mark and 2 marks is the 8. And so I come over here between 1 mark and 2 marks is the 20. And so I match up my second side equals 8 over 20. And so I'm going to use my calculator to do 8 times 25, which equals 200 equals 20x. Divide by 20 to get 10 equals x. And I check. Yes, that's logical. 8 to 10 and 20 to 25. Those are logical numbers. Alright, this last problem of the video is our level 4. So if you are not doing level 4, you do not have to listen to this part. Okay, so this is talking about scale factor. So the difference between ratio versus scale factor. And so the difference between ratio and scale factor is ratios when we write it as this one to this one. So A, B, C, D, E to K, L, M, F. I'm going to find one side that matches, so 2 to 3. So I would say my ratio is 2 to 3. And then what I multiply by, so is my next step. So if I want to go straight across, multiply 2 times 3 over 2 to get 3. So if I'm going from A, B, C, D, E to K, L, M, N, P, I would multiply it times 3 to 2. So this would be called our scale factor. So we're going to call this ratio, because sometimes those terms are interchangeable, but for the purposes of this lesson, ratios when we're doing this or we're setting up our proportions like this. Scale factor is what do you multiply it by. So then if we're going the opposite direction, I would again, if I'm setting up the ratio, I'm saying, okay, well this is 3 at the same time that this is 2. But when we do our multiply step, we say we'd multiply 3 times 2 over 3 to get the 2. And so my scale factor is 2/3. Now we have find the values of x, y, and z. So we can choose either to do the ratio and proportions or just to multiply. And so x is right here. And so x matches with 1 here. And so to go from 1 to this, again, I'm just multiplying by that 3 over 2. So I do 1 times 3 over 2 equals 3 over 2. Therefore, x equals 3 over 2. If that's confusing to you, the other option is to go ahead and set up 2 over 3 equals 1 over x. Then we cross multiply, get 2x equals 3, divide by 2 means x equals 3 over 2. So you can choose to do it this way if you recognize scale factor, or to go ahead and set up your proportions and multiply it, cross multiply and divide. You get the same answer either way. All right. Next we will do y. And so y matches up this third side And it gives us a 3 root 2. So we get to practice that, multiplying those with radicals in there. And so again, we can do the same thing of 3 root 2 times our scale factor to go from here to here was just 3 over 2. And so when we multiply these, we just multiply the top and we multiply the whole number. So that gives us 9 root 2 over 2 is the answer. Again, if it's easier for you, you can set up the 2/3 equals 3 root 2 over y and cross multiply divide. So that gives you 2y equals 9 root 2, and then you divide by 2 to get 9 root 2 over 2. So that is our y. And then z is the easiest. So z is right here, and angles are always equal. So therefore, z equals 45 degrees. Okay. That is the end of this video. So now you flip on over and do your assignment. If you are not in an advanced class, numbers 14 through 17 are level 4, so you can stop at question 13 unless you want to practice those for the extra credit on the test.